Intro: questions without answers. There are moments when you don't want to open your eyes, not because you're tired, but because there's nothing to look forward to. Evenings when you're at the dinner table with your family, yet your mind feels like it's standing outside the room. Days when you go to work, do all the things, meet all the people, but when you return home, your heart feels empty. We've been living like machines, eating because it's time, sleeping because we're tired, smiling for social courtesy, hiding our tears. And then, one day, for no clear reason, your heart quietly asks, how long can I keep living like this? That moment marks the beginning of a journey, not a journey outward, but a return inward. And strangely, in the history of humankind, whenever enough people start asking such questions at once, someone appears, someone more awake than the rest, someone who promises no heaven, performs no miracles. They simply light a small lamp quietly in the middle of the night. People call them the Enlightened Ones. Chapter 1: Darkness, where the flame begins. No one loves suffering, but somehow it's in the darkness that we begin to truly cherish the light. Enlightened ones do not appear when the world is celebrating. They arise when values are lost, when people hurt each other and feel empty afterward, when the promises of happiness no longer hold meaning. In ancient scriptures, it is written, when true Dharma declines, the awakened one will appear. Such a being sees through chaos, stays still while others are swept away, and through that stillness, lights a path for others. There's a story of a village that lost electricity for a whole month. At first, people complained. Then, they started gathering around small bonfires, sharing stories, laughing under the stars. An elderly woman carried a small oil lamp each night, visiting house to house, inviting neighbors to sit together outside. People began talking more, listening more. And when the power came back, many felt a sense of loss, because they'd never truly connected before the lights went out. The lesson? Sometimes it is in loss that we finally recognize what we had, and in the darkness, that even a tiny flame can shine brilliantly. Chapter 2: Silence, the language of the awakened. We live in an age of noise. Everyone is speaking. Social media never stops. TVs, ads, podcasts, news. Every silence is filled with sound. But strangely, those who are truly awake rarely speak much. The enlightened ones are often the quietest of all. They don't come to explain. They simply are, like a stream flowing through a forest, needing no applause, no certification. Their language is living rightly, living deeply, living truthfully. Each step they take, each glance they give, is a teaching in itself. Sometimes we meet them not through words, but through silence. There's a story of a Zen master and a new student. For the first 3 months, the master said nothing. He simply made tea, watered the plants, swept the fallen leaves. The student grew restless. But then, one day he realized he had never lived as mindfully as he had in those 3 months. Every action was present. No rush, no noise. He wept and bowed in gratitude. The lesson? Some truths cannot be spoken. Some transformations don't come from teaching, but from deep presence. The silence of the awakened is not avoidance. It's a light that needs no shape. And if you ever meet someone who is deeply here, deeply still, without needing to say anything profound, that might just be the teacher you've been seeking. Chapter 3. When faith wears thin, what light remains? Faith is fragile. Some lose it after a single betrayal. Some hold on, even after a lifetime of hurt. But one thing is true. When faith is worn down, the soul becomes like a boat without a rudder, drifting anywhere, and easily swept up by cheap thrills, hollow promises, or shallow idols. The Enlightened Ones do not come to offer new beliefs. They come to remind you that beneath the brokenness, your capacity to trust still exists. If you're willing to begin again from the smallest thing, there's a story of a village struck by drought. The fields turned to dust. People gave up. But one little boy each day went to the field, tilled the soil, planted seeds. A grown-up asked, "Why bother? There's no rain." The boy replied, "If the rains return and I haven't planted, how would anything grow?" 3 months later, the rains returned. His field was the only one green. The lesson? To begin again doesn't take something big, just a single seed, a small act, waking up 10 minutes earlier, forgiving someone, even a little, and when the time is right, your inner field will be ready to bloom again. You may have lost faith in a person, in a community, but please don't use that as a reason to stop believing in humanity or in yourself. If you're still willing to plant again, life will return. Chapter 4. The Enlightened don't save you, they wake you up. We often dream of someone who will rescue us, someone who holds all the answers, who will take our hand and lead us out of pain. But the Enlightened One does not come to save you. They come to mirror something deeper. They don't lift you out of the mud. They show you. Your legs still work. There's a story. A man fell into a deep well. He cried for help. Some passed by and mocked him. Some ignored him. One even threw stones. Finally, one person stopped. He said nothing yet, just dropped a small mirror into the well. The man looked in the mirror and saw that his eyes still had light. He chose to climb up it, slowly holding the rocks, until he reached the surface. By the time he emerged, the one who helped was gone. The lesson? Enlightenment is not a gift to be given. It's a light to be sparked from within. The awakened don't carry you. They awaken your own will to stand. In that moment, when you act not from fear or pressure, but from your own resolve, that is when true light begins. Chapter 5. Amid the noise, hearing the quiet call within. In today's world, everyone is talking, but what we truly need is not more noise, but more listening. Not to throw in another opinion now, but to become still enough to hear what's been forgotten. As society grows louder, our minds grow more restless, and in that restlessness, we don't just fail to hear others, we lose the ability to hear ourselves. The Enlightened Ones don't teach through loud speeches. They teach by being, through presence, through stillness. They show us there is still a world within, waiting to be heard. There's a story. A weary woodcutter got lost in the forest. He stumbled upon a hermit sitting silently by a stream. The hermit didn't ask questions, didn't give advice. He simply poured a bowl of cool spring water. They sat side by side for an entire afternoon. Without a word, after that day, the woodcutter left his trade, returned home to grow vegetables, live slowly, and laugh more. The lesson? We don't always need answers. Sometimes we just need someone to sit with us long enough, without trying to fix us. That, in itself, is healing. And sometimes, a truly awakened person says nothing, but simply exists like a peaceful sky, so that you finally hear the quiet voice inside yourself. Chapter 6: Small Lights. The Power of Ordinary People. Not everyone is an enlightened master, but anyone can be a small light. In their own space, a timely hug, a knowing glance, a kind word. These things can change someone's life, even if you never know it. The Enlightened Ones don't demand that we climb a mountain to practice. They remind us, living fully, living kindly, living honestly, is already a path to awakening. There's a story. An old woman lived alone in a small alley. Each day, she swept her yard, watered her flowers, and smiled at everyone passing by. A little girl from the neighborhood greeted her every morning on the way to school. Years later, the girl became a writer, and during a speech, she said, "I learned gratitude, kindness, and persistence from someone who never tried to teach me anything." The lesson? You never know who's learning from the way you live. So live as if someone is always watching, not through your words, but through how you care for the small things in your life. Chapter 7: Returning, the Journey Inward. The path to awakening doesn't begin in some faraway place. It begins right here. In the moment you stop, take a deep breath, and ask, what kind of life am I living? The enlightened don't hand you a map. They hand you a mirror, so you can see your true face beneath all the masks. You don't need to go anywhere to wake up. You just need to come back to yourself, to your breath, to your body, to the choices you make each day. There's a story. A man spent his whole life wandering in search of truth. He studied under teacher after teacher, traveled across countries, learned every system. When his hair turned white, he returned to sit before his old home and realized the answer he'd been searching for was always here, in his own heart, in the simple life he once overlooked. The lesson? Go far, just to realize you needed to return. Listen to the world, so you can finally hear yourself. Awakening is not about climbing up high. It's about going deep into yourself, to understand, to love, to let go. Closing. Life does not wait. We often think life changes only after something big happens. A crisis, a meeting, a miracle. But the Enlightened Ones never taught us to wait. They gently remind us. The light can begin now within you. A slow breath, a cup of water drunk with gratitude, forgiving someone, maybe even yourself. A simple question before bed. Did I live truly today? You don't need to climb a mountain. You don't need to read 1,000 scriptures. You only need to return to become a peaceful space for yourself, and if possible, for others too. If enough people light a small lamp, then no matter how dark the night, the world will shine. Thank you for listening. May you always keep that light alive inside you.